Sims, let's go.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're watching the GSL Talk Show. Tonight, we're going to be chatting with the love guru, Miss Krista. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the GSL Talk Show. I'm here with the lovely Miss Krista. Hi, how are you?
I'm great, Miracle. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good as well. I'm glad to have you here. Welcome. Welcome to the GSL Talk Show. So, I'm interested to learn more about you and your endeavors. So, let us know where you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am on the East Coast of Canada, and I am 56 years old. I don't know if my age is important, but there it is. I am a mother of 3 almost grown kids. It's amazing. I can't even imagine that they're so grown up. But I've been through ups and downs and good and bad things in life. I was married for 15 years, and my husband found somebody he liked better than me, which was fine because, well, you know what? I think it's better off though, right? Sometimes things happen, you think, oh, I'm sorry. And then it's like, no, it's better that way. So anyways, and so I began the journey as a single mom, which is hard work when you've got 3 active kids. And I always thought that it was great that they were spirited, but it also makes it exhausting. So yeah, I just, did the best I could raising the kids, and their dad's still around. So, they've got 2 parents, which is great, but it's hard work. And I was, struggling with the whole single mom thing, but making the best of it, working 3 jobs, to pay the mortgage, as people do, right? It's kind of, it's a common story. And then I was lucky enough to meet the love of my life, and he and I have been together for 5 years, and we have all sorts of adventures together, and we have an amazing life. And yeah, it's good. Life is good. I am very, very, very grateful for everything that I have in my life. My healthy, happy children, my amazing partner, my health. Yeah, it's been a great ride, and I love everything that I have and everything that I do.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know when people talk about like the different things going on in their life, and it's like the ups and downs. And again, I'm sure when you got married the first time, you didn't imagine that it probably would go the way it did and all these things, right? But for you to be able to say that, at the end of the day, I'm in a better place now, and everything's, basically that you're grateful for everything. I mean, that's a blessing, because it could be a totally different, show
Absolutely.
and testimony from that scenario. So
yeah,
God be glory that, you made it through, and that you're on the other end, and we're here today to see, some fruits, some good, right? I mean,
absolutely. And it's difficult. I know that a lot of women, or a lot of people, I guess men as well, struggle with the whole, breakup of a marriage and sort of starting out on their lives again. But once you accept your circumstances and understand that your whole life is ahead of you, right? And it can unfold any way that you want it to, then things are different than when you can change your mindset into that, I'm grateful to be here, and what can I do? The world is open to possibilities for me. Makes a huge difference, right? It's mindset and appreciating where you are. And the gratitude thing, it's funny, we've been having terrible weather this summer so far, like really bad. And I said to my boyfriend the other day, I said, you know what? I said, I've got to stop complaining about the weather, because that doesn't make it any better. And, as we had torrential downpour again this morning, I'm like, this is getting really difficult not to complain about the weather, but okay, right? But when you remove that negative complaining sort of attitude from your mind, it's amazing that just thinking more positively makes you feel better. So,
Mhm. These conversations always just tend to blow my mind. Like, there's just so many different things that kind of coincide, like in my personal life, right, with things that you were saying. Because just this morning, everybody knows I do this thing, I call it the juice, the daily inspiration, right? And I was
mhm,
studying, and I ended up talking about gratitude, and I ended up talking about, being ungrateful and things like that. And here we are having this conversation now that's, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just always blows my mind, like how these things keep fitting. And then the fact that
yeah,
you're talking about a storm, because it's storming right now over here. You
right?
probably hear the thunder in the background and stuff. Um, the last time a storm came through was earlier this week. And my son, for some reason this year, I've noticed like when storms be coming, it's like our power will go out and stuff like that. And so by the time it happened earlier this week, it was maybe like the third time our power had went out when the storm had come. And my son goes, "I'm sick of the storm." like
Right?
like right, like the very first time. He's 4, by the way. So my
Love
very
that.
first time, when the power went out, he didn't know what was going on. He just was going around and like, this is off, that's off, this is off, what's going on, he was like that. And then
Yeah.
like 3 times later, I'm sick of the story. It's so interesting, observing, I guess how he takes it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess with what you just said and what I studied this morning and just those observations, yeah, you can still go through difficult things, but it's all about, your mindset and what you do with the information you learn and all that different type of stuff. And so, I mean, it obviously
Absolutely.
sounds like you went through a nice journey here and it got you on this other side. So we have to know a little bit. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I would definitely love to hear about, what got you to this place and this mindset. Because sometimes when people are in low places, they don't, you know what I mean? They don't have that mindset to move forward and think
Yeah.
positively and things of that nature. So what helped you got into that mindset and to get to this lovely place you're at today?
Well, I mean, it was difficult for sure. I mean, I had some really low times. And I want to preface this by saying, you know, people, I will have from time to time, people will say to me, "You've been through a lot." You know what? I got divorced. I was a single mom. I haven't been through a lot compared to so many people out there who have abusive relationships and all sorts of terrible things. So, I am fortunate. My life has been great with some low points and high points. But,
Mhm.
um, my parents passed away within a year of each other and they weren't together. So it
Mhm.
wasn't, and neither of them were sick. So it wasn't sort of, they were both very much unexpected. And,
Mhm.
this was when I was working the 3 jobs and trying to manage the kids. And, I felt like a truck running down the hill with no brakes. Right. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do this. And I just kept, um, I leaned on my kids a lot, probably a lot more than I should. And, but they were there. They were my source of inspiration. And this, you look at your children and your heart just explodes, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
these are the most important people in the world. And I have to do right by them. This is my
Mhm.
job. I chose to have children. I made this commitment. I can't back off now and just
Mhm.
wallow in self-pity. So I
Mhm.
had to be there for my kids. I had to be strong and positive as much as I could. And I researched and took courses and things like that to understand how to better myself and how to be more positive and how to be stronger. And it's funny, you've probably had this happen to you. I think most women do. People would always say, "Oh, you're so strong," and it's like, I don't feel strong. I feel as weak as a puppy. I
Mhm.
don't feel like I can do anything. But
Mhm.
at the same time, even though I felt that way, things got done, right? I made it through and I did this stuff and I started to understand that, you know, like I said at the beginning, I have my health. I have 3 amazing, healthy, happy children. And I see people who have children who get sick and all sorts of things. So,
Mhm.
you know, I wallowed in self pity for a little bit, but then I said, okay, I need to fix this. And I just brought myself up because first of all, that wasn't helping me. Second of all, I absolutely did not want to be that example for my kids, right? And
Mm,
that's what it is. Everything um, focused around, centered around my kids and
mm,
being there for them and being happy and showing a good example and
mm,
doing the best I can to raise them, to make them successful, intelligent, functioning members of society. And so it was, one of those, I just pulled myself up by the bootstraps and gritted my teeth and made it through. And then, of
mm.
course, when I met my partner, that changed everything because, then I didn't feel like I was alone. I had somebody to lean on when I was stressed, and I had someone to support and encourage me and cheer me on when I succeeded, and, all
Mm.
those things. So it's really been kind of an up and down, but it's been a great journey and brought me to where I am, and I'm so grateful for it.
That's amazing. Like I guess for me, right, as you're sharing your testimony, the things that's just standing out to me the most is the things that are being the most attacked right now, right? Family, love, relationships, marriage, all these different type of things. There's just like this attack against those things. And but these are things that you just shared that like ultimately helped you to maintain, right? Help you keep your sanity through the dark times and different things like that. So, I say thank God for your kids being there because I don't know, like every now and then, like when I go through different things, or when I'm like now, I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm on the other side. I feel like I'm blessed. I feel like, I'm living my dreams in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
right? But every now and then I'll go back and think like, where would I be? And I have no clue, right? But it's like I have no clue where I would be if I had have like done just a couple of things different.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've ever thought about this. Like, where do you think you would be if your kids weren't there? Like, I guess that's the first question. Like, if you didn't have your kids and you went through the things, like, have you ever thought about that? Like, where do you think you would be?
Um, I think of it in a different way. I don't think about how I would have made it through without my kids,
Mm,
because without my kids, I would have been in a different place, right? Without my kids, I probably would have lived somewhere else or been traveling around the world or whatever. But for the most part, I generally don't think about where I would be without my kids because I don't want
mm-hmm,
to, right? Because
mm-hmm,
my kids are the center of my universe. I do not regret 1 second with their father because that is how my kids came to be,
right,
right?
right.
And my
Mm-hmm,
kids are amazing and they're half him, so I have to embrace that as well. So
mm-hmm,
I don't tend to think so much about where I'd be without my kids. I yeah, I worry about where my kids would be without me if anything happened to me, but I
mm-hmm.
don't tend to think about it the other way around. So, um, you
Gotcha.
know, I try not to dwell in the past. I try to always look forward to the great things that are coming that I know are coming.
Yes, yes. Well, my apologies. I mean, I guess I only just meant in a way where, like I said, not that I definitely don't want to go back to my past either, but I just wonder sometimes, like, where would I be? And since that was your reasoning for holding on, right, and maintaining the positivity, I just was wondering, like, you know, just if that scenario wasn't there, then like, do you think you would have fallen in a lower place, or do you think you would have just still found a way to pull up yourself by your bootstraps in
Oh
another
yeah,
way, or something
no,
else would have?
I know what you mean, and I like
Yeah.
no, it's a good question to ask. I just never really kind of thought about it, but no,
Mm,
they were such a tremendous sense of support for me that
mm,
I would hate to think of what it would have been like if I hadn't had them. Like if maybe their
mm,
dad had taken them away from me for some reason and I hadn't
yes.
had them. And of course, you never would
Mm,
have, right? Because we're very
yeah.
much, kids need both parents. But yes, if they hadn't been in my life, because they were what put the smile on my face, right? No matter how tired I was or how bad my day was or whatever, you can always look at your kids and go, oh, this is amazing because this is why I'm here. And so, yeah,
Mm,
without them, it would have been horribly lonely and depressing
mm,
and difficult to manage. And you know,
mhm,
I remember um, years and years ago when my dad was still alive and I was running a business and the business wasn't doing very well. And he said, "Well, you know what?" He said, "If things don't work out," he said, "we'll run away and hide under a blanket." And, you know,
Oh.
and I think about that sometimes, and that's probably what I would have done. I would have run away and hidden under a blanket because, you know, how do you deal with things when you don't have that support and that reason to keep going forward, right?
Mm, that's good. But I mean, I guess even I don't know that there was something I guess beautiful or special about with because it seemed like he would be there with you in the blanket, like both of us will go and do this, and that's still
Yeah.
a comforting thing. You know what I mean? To yeah, I don't know if that's something you think on and think like, oh, worst case scenario, me and Dad can get under the blanket. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly, right? And then
You
and
know,
then when
like
he passed away, then that person that I had to hide under the blanket wasn't there anymore. So then, you know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's hard and it's difficult to imagine. You have to believe that everything works out for a reason, right? Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So,
Mm-hmm.
and you hate to think that, you know, the way it was supposed to happen was that both my parents passed away, but that's what it was. So then maybe the reason for that is that for me to go on and be independent and find my own way without always leaning on my parents, because it's amazing even as an adult how much your parents mean to you and how important they are in your life. So,
Right. That's so true. That's so
yeah.
true. And so then we come to this point of love again, right? You know, finding love again. That's such an amazing thing. You know, is there anything you want to share with us in regards to that? Like maybe how did you guys meet and you know, whatever you
Well,
want to share.
well, we met the old-fashioned way on Tinder.
Hmm.
And actually, funny story, my kids set me up on Tinder. My oldest daughter, she
Oh.
goes, "Mother, I think I need to set you up on Tinder with a profile." And I said, "I'm not going on Tinder. That's a hookup site." And she said, "No, it's not." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" "Yes, mom." I'm like, "Okay." Because she's like, you know, 16 or 18 at the time. So she's a woman of the world, knows everything. And, and we met, and he had been in a relationship for 30 years. And since, you know, he was in high school, and just sort of an unfortunate marriage. Not a lot of love, I guess, is what I want to say. He very much loved her and tried to make everything work, but just nothing did. And you know, he didn't want to give up. He didn't want to be a failure and fail at this marriage. But eventually, he just had to realize that the right thing for him was to leave. And he sort of never thought that he would have a relationship again. And so he was casually dating and wasn't looking for anything serious. Definitely didn't want a woman with kids. And here I am. And but we met and we just hit it off, you know, that connection right from the get-go. You know, it was we met in Starbucks and spent 2 hours talking about everything. And you know, we're in Canada, so everybody plays hockey, and he knew my ex-husband from hockey because that's just the way it works, right?
Mama.
Right? And it's like, oh. So, but we hit it off right away, and you know, there were a few growing pains. He was really nervous the first time he met my kids, and my kids are a handful. I told you they're spirited. So there's no, you know, quiet, demure, oh, it's very nice to meet you. It's a full on zoo all the time. And I love it that way. I wouldn't have it any other way. But that was something that was different from him. He had a very sort of strict and rigid upbringing. And so the craziness of my household was different, but he really embraced it and he enjoyed the more relaxed atmosphere that we had. And, you know, we spent time together, and then it sort of became obvious that, you know, we were going to be in it together for the long run. And he is constantly amazed. You know, I say to him every once in a while, just jokingly, I say, you know, I'm part of your life now. And he goes, and I said it to him the other day. I said, you know, I'm a part of your life now. I said, you are my life. And I'm like, oh. So, and you know, he loves my kids, and he's a little frustrated sometimes by the unorthodox nature of my children and my parenting, but for the most part he loves them because he sees that they're not perfect kids, and a generational thing, right? Totally, that our generation looks at the kids now and whew, man, they are, you know, irreverent or undisciplined or whatever. But and he sees that, but he still understands that they're really great kids, and he takes pride in their accomplishments, and he is, so happy to be a part of their lives as well. And he's grateful because he knows that this is his family now, and he loves it. So I couldn't
Oh,
ask for a better situation or a better person to share my life with. And he's completely different than anybody I ever would have expected. He's a project manager for a construction company. So he's, the builder, hard hat and steel toed boots type of guy. And he's likes to go out in the woods and go on his four-wheeler, and he rides motorcycles and everything. And I always say he's everything I ever wanted but didn't know.
wow. See, I love stuff like that. I mean, I guess I'm always a little love person anyway. I call myself
Me
the
too.
hopeful romantic back when I was single because I'm like, I'm not hopeless. It's out there. I don't know who he is, but he's out there. And long story short, shout out to my husband. But yeah, I love love and romance and whatnot. And on top of that, it's like I'm glad to hear you say those things in reference to him because again, men are taking such a bad hit right now because they don't want us to think that there's gentlemen out there. They don't want us to think that there's good men out there or, men that would say fond things the way he says to you and things like that. They want to, kind of make us feel like, oh, all that stuff is fairy tale and not real. But then when you actually live it, you're like, no, this can happen. This is happening here.
100%,
And
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny the way the world is these days. It's really kind of taken a turn in a direction that I think, um, I don't know how to describe it, that is not right, in a lot of
Mm,
ways. Like I hear so many people say, "Oh, our kids, we never sit down and have dinner together as a family. We're always off in 100 directions." And I'm like, I always had dinner as a family, whether we had to have it early because somebody had to go to hockey or basketball. But, my
mm,
kids played hockey, lacrosse, basketball, they paddled. My kids were active. And I still
mm,
made it a point for us to sit down and have dinner together almost every day. Once in a while, if basketball practice landed at 6 o'clock and it just wasn't possible, then maybe we wouldn't. But for the most part, we sat down and had dinner together every day. And
mm,
women, I hear so many women say how terrible men are, and oh, they're just this and that, and there's no good men out there. There's so many
mm,
good men out there, and they
mm,
are wondering where the good women are, right? So somehow
mm,
there's a disconnect. But I just think that the world seems to be caught up in complaining and not doing things because it's difficult, right? Which is
mm,
having dinner together or meeting the right person or whatever. And I think
mhm,
that like you said, love is so important, and it seems to have been pushed on the back burner, and it's all become, efficient, and let's get this done, and let's register our children for the best university when they're 6 years old or whatever, right? And they're
mm,
life is passing them by because they're not enjoying the moments and the happiness and the love and the family time, which is
mm.
huge.
Yes. That's so true, and I'm glad that you all, have incorporated the family dinners and whatnot. Like, even in our household, it's just three of us right now. But I mean, we had those moments every now and then. We haven't done it like every day, but those moments, like I want to say, even like um, well, last Friday in particular, just came into my mind. We were sitting down at the table and whatnot, and I just was like, "How often would you like us to do this?" And I was talking to my husband about it and whatnot because he's like, "Well, I guess I never thought about it or whatever." Because it is just so important. And again, we have this 4-year old, and I will say that like I'm trying to be more intentional about like making sure we're having family moments and making sure,
Mhm.
so last year I want to say I started incorporating movie nights, and that's become like a
Love.
little staple in our home now because anytime,
Yeah.
we're just chilling around, he's like, oh, let's have a movie night, let's put our pizza, let's get some popcorn, and all the
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, just moments like this are the things that you cherish, like
Yeah.
I guess I always grew up wanting to play like have like game nights and things like that with my family. And for the most part, it seemed like, I mean, I get it. We got to work and different things like that. But I mean, I think it's just definitely important to be intentional about that time because I look at my son and I'm like, he's growing, and I remember when he was just like this and now he's,
Yeah.
like,
The
and
time
he's
goes
just
by in a
growing.
blink.
It does.
Yeah.
Time is flying. So we have to just
Yeah.
really try to appreciate, these moments. And and everything like that. And then again, this conversation about gratitude and being grateful and um things of that nature. Like you said, there are great men out there and they're single and they're like, where, where are the women? And then
Yeah.
and on the flip side, the women are like, where are the men? And so there is a disconnect in between the two. And then we're getting this whole narrative about women being don't need the man and things like that. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm grateful for where I am. I'm grateful to have my husband. I definitely see the importance. Like once we had our son, and obviously as he grows, I'm seeing how important it is that for both of us to be involved. And because
Mhm.
he'll come right behind me and like double down on things I say to our son, and vice versa. And I don't know. I couldn't imagine like trying to do it without him and stuff. And so I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think it's out there. I think deep down we want and need it as well, but either we try to suppress it, or we just try to, or maybe we're hurt by previous things. I don't know. There's all these reasons, I guess, that you know
Yeah.
love gets separated from people. But I hope that we all find like what we need.
Oh, absolutely. And I always say that the thing that bothers me, I guess, the most that I really don't like to hear is to hear women say, I would love to share my life with somebody, but dating is too difficult, so I'm just going to give up. And I'm like,
Mm,
it's not difficult. It's a process for sure, but the end result is so worth it. I mean, you know what it's like. You're married, you have a husband who I assume you love, an amazing child, right? And I have somebody I love. I can vouch for how wonderful it is to have that love and adult companionship in your life, right? That person who's there for the good times and to help you through the low times. And I think in a lot of situations, with women, and I've seen this happen a lot too, is somebody has a really bad experience, so they've given up on love, and they almost seem determined to spread their misery to other people, right?
mm,
Because it's a lot
mhm.
of women, their friends are in their ear saying, don't bother, it's not worth it, you're never going to find someone. And it's like, don't listen to those people. Listen to your heart, right? I mean, if you're really hungry, you don't say, "Oh, get over it. It's not worth it." Right? You have something to eat. If you want love
Right.
in your life, if you know that you want to share your life with someone, you shouldn't ever give up. Remain
Mm,
positive and look for that person, because the end result is so worth it. And,
yes.
it might take some tweaking or changing of your habits or your mindset even, right? And
Mhm.
I have a Facebook group, and every morning in my Facebook group I do an affirmations video. And so I
Mm,
go on live and practice positive affirmations with my groups so that they can reframe their mind to a positive attitude. And I always finish it by saying, if you something negative happens today or you get sidetracked, bring these affirmations back and repeat them to get yourself back into positive thinking, right?
mm.
So
That's
it's
good.
yeah, it's a lot of mindset and intentional thoughts that can make a big
Mm.
difference.
Yes, that's a definitely probably the root to a lot of issues, the mindset. It's crazy again because I was just reading something earlier about that. It was kind of talking about like finances and whatnot. Now I don't know how true this was, but I guess I'll repeat what I saw or heard. Basically, they were saying that someone did like this study, and they took some millionaires and I guess had them to live as homeless, and then now I don't know how true this is. I'm just telling you what they said. And then they had homeless people and they gave them like $1 million to live as millionaires. And they both like maybe I don't know, they said 1 or 2 years later they was like the millionaires was on their way to being millionaires again, and the people that were homeless was on their way to the opposite or whatever the case is. And again, I don't know how true it is, but they were going back to it's all about the mindset of the person,
Yeah.
rather than certain scenarios, whatever. You could have love right in front of you, but if your mind is rejecting it and everything like that, then you won't embrace it, right? You won't. I mean, you'll miss it, and then maybe you'll think about it later, but sometimes you can't get that moment back and stuff like that. I mean, and of course, we know things happen for a reason. And also, I guess another thing I was going to say is that I understand that maybe relationships and love may not be for everybody. There are some people that, maybe it's your mission or call to be single. Like maybe you're supposed to
Absolutely.
be, single or something like that. But I believe that this is for people that do have the desire for love, marriage, and all of that type of stuff. I feel like if you have that desire, that's probably because you're supposed to have it. And therefore, I think even with the positive affirmations and all these different type of things, hold on to that. Cause I know even in my single days, I was kind of, at some point I didn't give up, but at some point I just was like, well, Lord, if it's not for me, then just take my desire away, whatever.
Right.
I was like, just trying to just mentally prepare, like, well, maybe this thing might be crazy or whatever. But I really truly feel now that, again, if you have that desire deep within, like if you have a desire for family, love, whatever the case is, I believe that that's because this is part of God's plan for you. That's what you're supposed to have. That's why you have the
Absolutely.
desire for it. And so,
But
it's just
we're
one of those things. We can't get discouraged along the way.
we're genetically predisposed to be part of a couple or part of something, because it goes back to caveman days, millions of years ago, when we had to be with someone to be safe, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't safe to be alone. So you had to be with another person or with a group. And so that has just sort of become part of who we are. So it's very natural. It's a very natural desire to be to want to be part of a relationship, to have somebody in your life, to be part of a duo. And like you said, lots of people choose not to, and that's fine for whatever reason. And some people are just solitary, right? I mean, I'm sure people who just really enjoy their alone time. I never need to be alone. I've never needed to be alone, right? I like to be around people. But
Mm.
some people are just solitary, and of course there's nothing at all wrong with that. But a lot of people are um genetically wired to want to be with somebody, to share their life with somebody. And there's 8 billion people in the world. There is somebody out there for everybody, right?
I
And
believe so.
there's always somebody who's going to understand and get your brand of crazy, or share your bizarre, you know desire to drink coffee out of a soup can, whatever it is. There's always going to be
Mhm.
somebody out there who's going to love and appreciate you for who you are. And maybe you won't find them in a week or a month or 2 months, but you will find that person if you don't give up, and you keep focusing on the right attitude.
I, and say, I think that's another thing that's so difficult, right? It's like looking at yourself and seeing, where you need to grow, change, and stuff like that. Because we don't want to do that. We think we're perfect. We don't think
Yeah.
that we think that our mindset is a okay. And sometimes it that's what kind of is hindering us as well, and
Hmm.
not growing, not changing, not being open to learning or whatever to get you to that next level of where you really want to be. And so that's another pet peeve of mine. I like to hear about people saying that they can't change and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've just had so many different things in life that, I wouldn't be here today probably talking to you if I didn't make some changes years ago, and so it's just one of those things to think about. I know we can probably go on and on, but I would love to hear more about, like, how did you create your group and things like that, and whatever else you would like to share with us about what you have going on.
Well, I after I met my partner, Billy, um, I was so grateful at the change, and I saw the change everywhere in my life. And then COVID hit, which was so much fun. And I worked for an airline, so you can imagine how that went.
Oh,
And so, after everything, after COVID, and people were starting to get back to work, but the airlines were so long going back to work, so I wasn't going back to my airline job anytime soon. And so I sort of pursued a couple other things, and it didn't fit with me. It didn't sit right. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And
mm,
then, a few years passed after. It's been what, 3 years since COVID. Um,
mm,
and then when the airline job did finally come back, I was at the point where I thought, you know what? I don't want to work shift work. I don't want to go in at 6 p.m. at night and get off at 4:30 and be exhausted, and work weekends and have this crazy upended schedule. I want to do something else. And so I started looking at things, and um, I found a business coach who helped me start a business. And, you know, deciding what I wanted to do wasn't really very difficult because I had this calling to want to help other people to improve their lives and feel better about themselves and their lives the way I had. And so that's why I decided I was going to be a dating coach. And I'm an accredited relationship counselor, and I've done all sorts of courses and done the work, the inner work, and really sort of put something together that allows me to help other people who are sort of in the same spot that I was 5 years ago before I met my partner. And so that's where it started. Was I really wanted to give back. And I always say I drank the Kool-Aid. I want everyone else to drink the Kool-Aid too, right? you know
Yeah.
I and it's been great. There's so many women who come to me and they say, I'm never going to find someone. There are no good guys out there. And I'm like, there absolutely are good guys out there. One of the women I worked with, she got married a couple of years ago, and I went to her wedding, and she said, um, we need Krista in the pictures because if it weren't for her, we wouldn't be here. Right.
Wow.
And a lot of it was not just mindset, but a lot of it that I think is really important about what I do, it's the support, right? Because you don't
Mm-hmm.
always feel like you can go to your friends or your family when you are sort of feeling your way through relationships. But having
Mm-hmm.
somebody that you can call, go, oh my God, he hasn't texted me for 2 hours. What am I going to do now? It's like, it's only 2 hours. It's fine. Right. But having that
Mm-hmm.
support and that person, I like to say a virtual BFF, a cheerleader, a drill sergeant, whatever people need. But having that person who's in your corner to guide you is huge, because it's so much easier not to give up when you have somebody there who's saying, it's okay, you can do this. And sometimes it's that simple, right? Sometimes a crisis comes up, and it's that simple that you can say, that's okay, you can do this, you've got this. And sometimes it's trickier with your family, because I don't know if you've ever run into this, but your husband does something that makes you angry, and you're reluctant to tell your family or open up to them about it because they're going to take your side and think he's a bad person, when really it's just you know a,
Mm-hmm.
a one-time thing that happened, right? So it's
Right.
it's yeah, so I think it's great to have somebody to support. And I think especially as we get older, and we're not 20 anymore, the whole dating thing is not as easy when you're 40 or 50 or even 60. My grandmother got married when she was 75. So, it's not as easy when you're older than it was when you were 20, but still so important, and still endless possibilities. So that's what
Yeah.
I that's what I do with my clients. And I recently started working with men, because men are completely different. But they always say men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and I think sometimes they need a translator,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like I put a post out to the men recently, and I said, when you're initiating conversation, do not open with hello beautiful or hi cutie, we have a name, please use it, right?
Mm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
sounds disingenuous when they do that. And
Mm.
so just little things like that men don't understand, and they really think that they're being um, like complimentary and kind or whatever. But really, women want you to look them in the eye and talk to them as a human being, and not from the get-go say, hey beautiful, like the only thing I'm noticing is that you're a pretty face type of thing, right? But things like
Mm-hmm.
that, I think there's a disconnect between the way men speak with women and the way women speak with men. So I think
Mm.
that having a translator helps with that.
Well, awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Again, there's people out here that can, assist people. I know I definitely have a heart for single people as well, because my journey I went through and all that. So, I'm out here like whatever I can do to assist and whatnot. I know we're working on some more things to create more content here on GSL. So who knows? We might need to stay in contact, Miss Dating Coach, because you never
Absolutely.
know. Might need you to coach some people real soon.
Absolutely.
Everything like that. But
I love
man,
doing
that's
it. It makes me happy. It makes
yeah.
me happy to support people. And I know it kind of sounds like a cliche, but I really do. I love hearing people's love stories. It
Mm,
just gives me hope, and I hope that it gives other people hope that there is always somebody out there. And like I said, my grandmother got married when she was 75 and she had 20 years with her husband, right? So don't ever
mm,
tell me that anyone's too old or that it's hopeless, because it's not. There's always opportunities for anything, and you can become and be what you want to be. You just have
mhm.
to believe in yourself. Is the very first step, is believing in yourself, and then everything will follow.
There you go, man. I love that. I love that. Um, you write about that as well in regards to your grandma and stuff, because I have seen some other people that may have gotten married in their older age and whatnot as well. So it can happen, man. I'm sure people are like, oh, I don't want to wait that long or whatever, but you just never know where you are in life. It's the right time for you, and so
Right.
oh, that's a beautiful thing. And so, I'm got one more question, and then I guess I'll let you go because I know you probably got lovers to assist, right?
Yeah.
um, but how did it feel for you to attend, for example, I guess the wedding of the people that you kind of coached along and things like that? Like,
Oh, it just makes me so proud. Like it just I want to bust. I'm the most emotional one in the group because I'm like, "Oh, yes. I knew you could do it." And I have such faith. I believe in these people. And
mm-hmm,
when I see them find what they want and fill their hearts with love and move on to the next phase, it's just like, "Oh, I love that so much." It just I'm
mm-hmm,
so proud. I'm like a mother hen. I'm like, oh look, my chicks made it, and it just like it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It makes me so happy to see other people happy, and I don't ever want to see anybody unhappy. And I know I can't fix the world, but I will help as many people as I can because it's the best thing to feel that way and to feel supported and to share your life and feel seen and validated and so many things, right? The ripple effect that comes from love. It's not just red hot sex life or whatever, because that's,
mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it can be part of it. It can't be whatever is your thing, but that's
Right.
part of it. But there's so much more. There's the confidence, because look at, here I am, I'm amazing, and this amazing man or this amazing woman loves me, right? So look at, I am great. And all of a sudden you walk a little bit taller and you speak a little more positively, and
Mm-hmm.
there's just so many things, and you're a better mother and a better employee. And when you're happy, and this because you're married, you've got a wonderful family, when you're happy, everything is better, right?
Yes.
And it's that
Yes.
ripple effect, right? It starts with love, and then it's family and jobs and
Mm-hmm.
wonderful vacations, and your house gets cleaner because you have more energy. And it just, there's so many great things that come with love and a committed relationship that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to stop until I've helped as many people as I possibly can.
Well, please do not stop, ma'am. Like I said, I'm out here trying to do my part too. And everybody, please, let's just keep the love going and flowing, because it's definitely needed again in this world that tries to just separate us all and keep us isolated and things of that nature. I just see more and more every day the importance of, fellowship and togetherness and things of that nature. So, I
Yeah.
mean, well, Miss Krista, how can they get in touch with you if anybody wants your assistance and things like that?
Well, they can send me an email to Krista at krista-marie.com, or they can just look me up on my profile page on Facebook, which is Krista Melanson, Melanson, and reach out to me through Messenger or DM, whatever. I'm always happy to talk to somebody and hear their story and see if I can help.
Awesome. And is there anything else you want to share with us before you go?
If anybody would like to join my Facebook group, it's called Dating Success Secrets for Women Over 40 Looking for Love. And it's just a discussion group. It's women who are all in the same place and having various dating experiences. And everybody just comes in and chats and talks about they met a guy, I don't know about this, what should I do? And, sharing their experiences. So it's really just an open, and there's no hate words and no men bashing or anything like that. It's just come in and be yourself and think of it as a warm, safe place to talk and be who you want to be.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the work you're doing out here, Miss Krista. Like I said, we got to stay in touch because, we might need your services here on GSL. But yeah, thank you
Definitely.
so much for visiting us.
Thank you for having me, Miracle. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you so much for watching the GSL Talk Show, and thank you to Miss Krista for joining us tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and check out Miss Krista and her group. And hey, stay tuned because we might be seeing more of her real soon. Have a good night.